Uh-oh, it's the Neuralink, dude. Black
Is
voters
it
support
racist
Georgia ID law.
to require an ID to cast a vote in an election?
No, you need your ID for everything nowadays. Why would it be considered racist when we all have to carry one?
You should already have an ID. I live in Georgia now.
All right.
And I voted. They ain't seen me nothing with no problem, so it's not racist.
No, that has nothing to do with race.
Has nothing to
Smart. Finally, fucking Boo Boo Bennett has decided to actually fucking find people that agree with her instead of going and getting absolutely cumstered and dumpstered by like people who lightly and gently disagree with her that just look very smart in comparison to how fucking stupid she is. I'm glad that she decided to do the smart thing, which is just literally look for people that agree with her.
do with race.
If it's for everybody, then no, it's not.
It don't sound racist to me. Just requiring ID.
So not only is it not racist, but you think it should be required.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of things in the world that's racist. That's not considered one. And I would know that for a fact.
Georgia just passed a bill.
Bro, how the fuck are you gonna wear a coat in Florida? Like, what the fuck is she doing, bro? What is happening right now? It's literally 70 degrees and like humid as fuck right now.
Bill that requires voter ID. Pretty common sense, right? Big companies don't think so. They think it's racist. Let's figure out if the people in Clearwater, Florida agree with that. Did you know there's an opportunity to talk to me one-on-one in my private Facebook group?
Oh my god, dude. Shut the fuck up.
All to require ID to vote.
Okay.
A lot of big companies are pulling out because they say that it's racist to require an ID to cast a vote in an election.
Okay.
Do you guys think that's racist?
Racist to cat. You said what?
To use an ID to vote.
No, that has nothing to do with race.
Has nothing to do with race.
If it's for everybody, then no, it's not.
Yeah, no?
I don't think it does.
Okay. Why do you think MLB and Delta Airlines are...
Okay, so here is the funny thing, okay? Or most people are inexperienced about this sort of shit and they're unfamiliar, so they don't understand. Segregation isn't literally, back when like Jim Crow laws were enforced, wasn't literally enforced on like, if you're black, you can't do this, okay? In certain places, it literally was like that, but in a lot of like legislation that was codified, it didn't directly say like, blacks can't vote, okay? There was such a thing as the grandfather law, for example. It's so that people don't recognize that the action that they're engaging in or the things that they're advocating for are directly fucking racist. The grandfather law implied that if your grandparents were not able to vote, then you were not able to fucking vote, okay? Why would they do that? Well, maybe that's one way that you can stop black people from fucking voting because their grandparents were not allowed to fucking vote, okay? So if you were a dumbass, racist, white supremacist, you would then say, actually, it's not racist, sweaty. Show me where the law says blacks can't vote. It actually just says your grandparents can't vote. Some white people's grandparents couldn't vote either. Like, it's just a way to use an out. It's just a way to fucking use this as an opportunity to get away with voter suppression. Specifically, voter suppression that targets poor people. Specifically, voter suppression that targets black and brown people. Now, the reason why voter ID laws, and this is really hard to fucking describe to so many people, the reason why voter ID laws are discriminatory against black and brown people, specifically poor people, but more often than not black and brown people, is because of the way that the DMV process works. It usually requires amount of money that you need to pay to be able to get a driver's license. Not everyone is afforded a driver's license immediately at the moment that they turn 18. Not everyone has not a driver's license, but just like a national voter ID, for example. We don't have that in the United States of America, unfortunately. This is precisely the reason why these restrictive protocols are often utilized, or rather weaponized, against black and brown people. That's precisely why, suspiciously, secretaries of state that decide to, implement voter ID measures will do so after shutting down DMVs in black and brown neighborhoods. It's just one other way of stopping people from fucking voting. It's just to make it harder for people to vote.
Are trying to force that state to rescind that law by saying it's racist. Can you come up with anything in your head?
Maybe that's just the only thing they could think of.
I like that answer.
Maybe because they think that people shouldn't be ID for that.
Is voter ID racist?
I think voter ID really goes to who it is that's considered a citizen in the United States. You know, you can't vote if you're not a citizen of the United States. So at that point, if you're not getting your citizenship, then you shouldn't be able to vote. But other than that, vote for whoever it is that you believe is your candidate.
I feel like I'm gonna go off what Big Bro said. I'm gonna go off what Big Bro said. If you don't have an ID in the United States, then you should not vote. It's not right.
It's also, it's purposely deceptive in that they leave out the registration of the vote is the verification process in and of itself. Like, they are adding an additional fucking hurdle to the verification process when a verification process already literally exists. Why are they adding this? Is there an influx of fake IDs? Is there an epidemic of fake voters? Is there an epidemic of voter fraud, for example? Of course not. That's the other part of the argument that we never talk about. It just tries, kind of like every other conservative or reactionary point of view, to make it seem like it's like an obvious thing. Like, yeah, of course you should have an ID to vote. It's just another way to disenfranchise poor people. Oftentimes those poor people are black and brown. It's one of the many different ways of doing it. And if you wanted to, you should make it easier for everyone to get a fucking state ID, okay, across the board, a national ID, if you will. And then they can go out and implement voter ID measures as long as everyone can have one, as long as it's easy for people to do so, and as long as people can verify in other ways.
Right? It's not legal and it's not accepted. But no, it's not racist. I'm mixed, black and white. It's not racist. But if you do have an ID, vote for whoever the hell you want. And let me tell you right now, Biden sucks. And I'm a black guy saying that. Trump 2020. Can I get a whole yeah? Oh yeah! Oh yeah! That's all I'm gonna leave it at. If you don't have an
sick, dude, fucking sick, dude.
ID to vote in the U.S., don't do it. Okay, don't try it.
It's wrong for her to ask people who aren't educated on the subject. No, she asks people who aren't educated on any subject all the time. I'm just finally surprised. I'm surprised that it finally took her this long to fucking find people that literally agree with her. She goes to spring break locations on purpose. That's her whole content. And even uneducated motherfuckers usually dunk on her pretty hardcore. Okay,
Georgia. We're going back to Georgia. All right. Is voter ID racist? Is that a no? I don't know. Georgia, they just passed a bill to require voter ID to cast a vote in an American election. MLB, Delta, Coke, they're protesting it. They're pulling business out of Georgia because they said
it's not just voter ID. You also have to recognize like when, why, and where these measures have been implemented. Okay? It's not just voter ID. Georgia implemented a fuckload of restrictions, okay, including like not having water and food be served at lines. Saying that it's just simply voter ID is ridiculous. And they did it after there was an ease in fucking ballot registration because more black people were able to fucking vote, and therefore it changed the electoral outcome for the state of fucking Georgia.
Requiring an ID to vote is racist. Is it racist?
Like, the big part of the problem isn't the ID verification in Georgia. It's literally making it harder for mail-in voting to occur in the state. So the real question should be, the honest question here is, do you see a problem with people being able to vote by fucking mail? Do you see a problem with more people being able to vote? And if you ask Republicans that, they're going to say, yes, of course I do. Why? Because more people voting means Republicans are not going to be able to win elections, and I don't like that. It's at the heart of the Republican agenda, okay?
It's a lot of things in the world that's racist. That's not considered one. And I would know that for a fact.
All right.
So,
okay, yeah. I like that answer. There's a lot of things. Requiring a voter ID is probably not one of them. Do you think it's racist?
Not really.
So it's to require voter ID to vote. So if you're going to go in and cast a vote in an American election, you have to prove you are who you say you are, then you can vote. Some companies are pulling out. I assume this is where you know what's going on, because they're saying that law is racist. Is it racist to require an ID?
Like, she's just hyper focusing on the racism element of it and the voter ID element of it, when the real conversation is much larger than this. And the real reason why they're implementing these measures is because black people were able to vote in higher numbers than they ever had before in the state of Georgia and fucking won the election fair and square. It's just literally trying to implement an anti-democratic measure to stop more people from going out and fucking exercising a constitutional right that was given to them.
To vote.
No, I don't think so.
I don't necessarily think so. If everybody has to do it, I guess if you were singling out one race, it would be different. But if it's, everybody, then I guess it's a requirement for everybody.
Hey, on that racist. Wait,
I'm racist.
You're racist?
I'm racist? How so?
Are you a Trump supporter?
Where's the proof that I'm racist?
On your Twitter.
Are you
Just proof. If you're gonna call people racist.
Are you a Trump supporter? Bro, come on. Bro, break that. Chill out.
I don't want to be on camera.
You're gonna call people racist? Back it up, dude. Come on. For the uncensored portion, I do have something to say about that. So sign up at Liberty Hangout.
Bro, she means the N-word. I swear to God, dude. The fuck you mean for the uncensored portion, dude? What the fuck? Like, for the uncensored portion, watch me say it.
On TV if you want to know what I'm about to say. But that's why I have
Holy
security
shit.
right there. Because of that happening, people calling me names. I asked for proof. They want to put their hands all over me. Thank goodness that his friends had a little bit more common sense than him. But I don't know.
So voter ID, I really believe that you should have a voter ID to vote. There's no reason why anybody from not our country should be able to vote. So you need a voter ID to vote. And I believe that if you want to vote, you should have a voter ID. I'm not sure what else.
I mean, I know why they say it is.
Why is it?
They say that black people can't access the DMV and they can't get to the place to get an ID, and they aren't smart enough to get on a computer.
Well, that's their fault. Why do we ask them? Like, they could better themselves.
If the Democrats truly cared, then they would have lower bus fares for they can go to the DMV.
Let's ask them. Here, ask them.
We're discussing is voter ID racist?
Bro, that is literally, like, that is a nuclear group, okay? This is like enriched uranium, like, waiting to happen. You got homies wearing fucking, fishing sweaters and shit. You got a dude wearing that what is that cap? Like, I'm sorry, I'm profiling right now. This is a group of dudes that even Boo Boo Bennett should not reach out to in this circumstance. You never know what the fuck they're gonna say, okay? This is not white boy summer, by the way. Do not say this is white boy summer, okay?
Have lower bus fares for they can
Motherfucker's
go
got
to the DMV.
Margaritaville
We're
cap on.
discussing is voter ID racist?
This is the dude that is like, I'm from Detroit, bro, when they're from Ann Arbor. That's the dude.
Is requiring an ID, a form of ID, to vote in an election in America, is it racist?
To get an ID, you should already have an ID, right?
Well, Delta is mad at Georgia. MLB is pulling their game.
Bro, the reason why people are mad at Georgia isn't even around voter ID. What the fuck is she talking about? Like, I'm so confused, dude. Like, why is she making this into a voter ID? Voter ID separately is a fucking issue, okay? It's literally an issue, regardless, okay? But the reason why people are mad at fucking Georgia is because Georgia had less restrictions on ballot registration and also voting drop-off points as a consequence of COVID. And it was so successful in getting more people to go out and vote that the state of Georgia and the Republicans that are in charge of the voting process there said, oh my God, this is terrible. Black people are voting. More poor people were able to vote because they didn't have to because it wasn't restricted to a single day. We need to limit that. Like, we need to fucking literally limit that. It has nothing to do with like voter ID and all that shit.
Names out of Georgia, the state of Georgia, because they just passed a law to require voter ID, and people are saying it's racist.
How are they going to mail you your voter's registration and your voter ticket if they don't have an ID?
They said there shouldn't be an ID requirement.
Because, I mean, they mailed me my stuff, and I voted.
Were you able to get an ID?
Yeah, I have a Georgia license.
Okay. So you're from Georgia?
No, I'm from Florida.
Okay.
But I have a Georgia license.
Okay.
I live in Georgia now.
All right.
And I voted. They ain't seen me nothing with no problem. So it's not racist. Just to let y'all know.
All right, thank you. Georgia, I'm going to keep it sweet and simple, and I'm just going to get straight to the point. They passed a bill requiring ID to cast.
So close, dude. She's so fucking close to the truth. Oh, so there is a verification process where they just like don't mail something to you randomly. Okay, got it.
To vote? People are saying that's racist.
Crazy.
Is it racist to require an ID to cast a vote in an election?
No, you need your ID for everything nowadays. Why would it be considered racist when we all have to carry one?
I don't believe so neither.
No?
For the same reasons, like you need some type of form of identification, and I think you would need some type of form of identification to vote. Why wouldn't you?
And what if somebody said that they voted?
Like, it's the same question that should be asked of Brian Kemp when he was the Secretary of State running against Stacey Abrams, who lost. Brian Kemp became the governor in the gubernatorial race. Is it racist to ensure that names with hyphens are purged from the voter ballots, from the voter rolls? Okay. Well, the real reasoning behind it is yes, it's because black people are more likely to use the actual like handwritten registration at the DMV, which leads to more problems, or if they have more hyphens in their names, which leads to more problems that do not immediately match up their actual name on the identification versus their name on the registration process. And the only reason why we know this is because motherfuckers are so desperate to stop black and brown people from fucking voting that they found out that there is a higher likelihood that you're going to be targeting a fuckload of poor people and a higher number of black and brown people if you purge people whose names are not immediately and directly matching up with their voter registration. That's precisely what happened with Brian Kemp. That is a real fucking story. Okay? Now, the idiotic way to talk about it is like, well, if your name doesn't match up, are hyphens racist? Are hyphens and if your name like doesn't fully match up and you get purged from the voter rolls, is that racist? Is that racist? Well, yeah, motherfucker, the real reason for why they did that is racist.
Once, or they vote was counted twice, and
How do you know who's voting and who's not if you don't have an ID? So no, I definitely don't believe it.
So not only is it not racist, but you think it should be required.
Yeah, apostrophes and hyphens and shit like that.
I don't think no harm's in it.
Yeah. Me neither. Just MLB.
Delayed autistic guppy. How many people were they able to purge from voter rolls? To be honest, that doesn't seem like it get many people off. Interesting you say that. $309,000 voters were purged from the voter rolls in its routine list maintenance.
Pog.
120,000 of those people were included in the cull simply because they hadn't voted since 2012 or responded to mailings from the state. And they also did this like
9 months.
literally leading up to an election too. Like they straight up did that. That's all it takes in a lot of instances. If you're one of the 309,000 and you were like literally going to vote and you didn't find out that you can no longer vote until you fucking literally get to that point, then you're fucked. What are you supposed to do? Yeah. There you go. None of this would be a problem if everyone had an ID and it was easy as fuck to get an ID, by the way.
Delta Airlines and Coca-Cola are all protesting, trying to threaten.
They protest everything nowadays. Oh, the sand is too windy out here. Let's protest Tampa. No.
No kidding, yeah. So why are they using the race card to try and not have election security, do you think?
To be honest,
that's all I ask.
I think that is
white people get purged on this as well, by the way. Like, white people get purged in this regard as well. When this stuff happens, like, obviously, it's mostly targeting poor people, okay? It's mostly targeting poor people because poor people are usually writing. They're etching out, and they're not signing up online. Poor people have a higher likelihood of writing in their registration, which then leads to more problems when people are putting that into the systems. Okay, that's where it comes from.
New norm to say racist against it, and it's kind of offensive because the ones who are using it is counteracting what it really is. That's not racism, but because Black people endure it so much, now it's almost like they're trying to use reverse racism for every little.
What the fuck? How does she find these people, bro? Oh
everything.
My god.
Everything is racism now.
Is it insulting that we're pulling issues away of actual racism and applying? It almost seems as though if everything's racist, then nothing can be racist.
Exactly. It is very offensive that everything is used as racism, but what really is racism? What's really racist?
As if these people are hard to find in Tampa. Oh no, 100%, 100%. Is literally. Yeah, like affirmative action is racist because, you know, if you're trying to correct
this question sounds stupid,
if you're trying to right the wrongs of racism or racist actions of the past, you obviously have to do it along the lines of fucking along the lines of said race that was pushed behind, right? So that inherently is racist because, you know, there's still racial segregation.
Oh, it's not racism. But what's not racism? Oh, it's racism. So it's using it to their benefit, and it's very offensive.
Yeah. I mean, I'm as white as they get, but I agree with you with that. I agree with it.
Well, and that is not racism, by the way. When white people and black people agree, that's...
It's facts. No matter the race, no matter the culture, no matter religion, facts are facts. Can't change that.
Facts don't
People are so fucking dumb.
They're about the feelings.
The people that she interviewed are always dumb, but some of them very easily dunk on her. And I'm surprised that her like new way to go about it is just to like not have her editors changed or some shit because they're no longer keeping in the cut people that fucking absolutely obliterate her.
Passed a bill recently that requires voter ID. Have you heard about that?
A little bit.
Have you heard about the companies that are just not having?
Like, I probably won't watch it anymore because it's no longer fun. It's just like a stupid person talking to other stupid people and agreeing.
They do not like that
I do that all the time. I do that enough. You know what I mean? I gotta pee. Hold on, I'll be back.
Coke, Delta Airlines, they're all examples. They are pulling business out of Georgia because they said requiring an ID to vote is racist. Do you think it's racist to require proof of who you are to vote?
I don't. No.
Why not?
You need to verify who people are. So you need verification about who people are.
So not only do you believe that it's not racist, but we should have it.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. You're not white, right?
No.
Okay, you're not white. But you follow me and you said you love me.
Yes, I do.
I'm just putting that out there for everybody who wants to do whatever they want with that information. So, all right. Is voter ID racist?
No.
Georgia, you know Georgia. Mm-hmm. Great state of Georgia, as President Trump calls it, former President Trump. They are saying it's racist. The companies in Georgia, Delta Airlines, Coke, MLB, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you were requiring an ID for people to vote. That's racist. As someone who isn't white, is it racist?
No, I feel like people should be like having a voter ID because you have to know who you are. Like, if you're going to vote, how do we know that you're not a citizen from another country? And why do you have a say in America if you're from another country?
Very good point. Is that not the dumbest question you've ever been answered or asked? What do you think? Is it racist?
I mean, it can be, but it all depends on how you really look at it. Racism could be something to somebody else. Like, it could be based on your skin color. It could be based on what you do versus...
Okay, this is like dumb people talking to other dumb people, which is like...
content like this.
This is just like...
More.
I wish it was fun. You know what I mean? Am I the only one who feels like this is not... I don't know. It's just like no longer fun anymore when they're like deliberately trying to fucking put together a video that is calculated this way. There was an element of confusion. Like there was people that always agreed with her in the videos, but there's people that always agreed with her in the videos, right? And that was whatever. That was one thing. But there was also people that disagree with her that made it fun, right? And when the disagreement goes away, it's just like kind of fucking makes it no longer fun.